Welcome to Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. A world where coming in second place is not an option, but where principle-centered winning is the only approach.
Good morning and welcome back to Government Contracting Weekly. I'm Jim McCarthy, the owner and technical director of Key Solutions and the host of Government Contracting Weekly. Once again, we are coming to you from the studios at WUSA TV for our annual Look Ahead special as we create a preview on what the government contracting industry might expect in 2014. Given all the uncertainty that our industry experienced in 2013, taking on the task of projecting what will happen in the coming year will be no small feat, but we have with us today just the right panelists to put forth our best prognosis. Joining me this morning are Jim Dinegar, the CEO of the Greater Washington Board of Trade. Jim, good morning. Good morning, welcome. I'm also joined by Gigi Godwin, who is the President and CEO of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce.
Good morning, Jim.
Good morning, Gigi, how you doing? And also Jim Corcoran, who is the President and CEO of the Fairfax County Chamber of
Jim.
Commerce.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome, gentlemen and ladies. Good. We got all Jims on this program except Gigi, so you get a chance to stand out here, I guess, right? Anyway, my first question, folks, is to look sort of like this year. Look, we've had elections, we've had fiscal cliffs, we've had continuing resolutions, we've had sequestrations, we've had government shutdown, we've had layoffs. So it hasn't exactly been the best year, arguably. So the question I have for you, Jim Dinegar, is have we turned the corner yet, or do we think we still have more to come?
Well, I think we've turned the corner. Unfortunately, this is a very long turn, so it's not a January 1st restart. I think we're going to look at sequestration. I think we're going to look at elections. I think we're going to look at similar situations in 2014. This is the new normal in many respects, but the strong, the sharp, the smart, the capable will do quite well in the next couple of years.
Okay, Gigi, what's your perspective?
I think we're in Act 2 of a 3-act play. We don't know if it's a tragedy or a comedy. We don't know how it's going to turn out yet. We don't know what's going to happen in January with the budget. We all hope that we don't see a repeat, but remains to be seen. So I think it's a stay tuned, and I agree with Jim. There's a lot still happening. We're facing elections in Maryland. Virginia may have just finished, but Maryland's now has all of that disruption. So we don't know, and I think that the jury's out at the federal level.
Okay, Jim Corcoran, your answer.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Jim and Gigi as far as we're at a place where we're ready to turn the corner. I do think there have been some downward trends over 2013. And are we at the bottom right now, ready to springboard forward? I think we're there. I can't tell you that it's going to be today, last week, or if it's going to be March or November of next year.
Many of you know this, but industry was thinking once the shutdown was over and all that the flow of RFPs would start up again in earnest. And yet, maybe if it started up at all, it's a trickle. So in 2014, you think we're going to see more and more activity in the RFP area?
I definitely think you're going to see more in that area, particularly when it comes to cyber opportunities, cloud opportunities. But I also think people are going to look more to commercialize what they've been doing for the government.
What do you think? Can we expect a significant uptick in the release of RFPs?
Well, I don't think there are going to be more RFPs. I think there will be a lot of activity, but I think it's going to take the shape of more teaming, consolidation. I think in a world with reverse auctioning, GWACs, and strategic sourcing being part of the new normal, if you will, I think what we're going to see is more recompetes of existing contracts. I think it's going to be very important for people to figure out who they can team with. So I wouldn't say that we could expect more contracts, but rather a different way of seeing that maybe the same money being spent, but I think there'll be more consolidation.
Jim Dinegar, your answer.
Well, I think it's going to feel like there are more, but that's because fewer people are going to be responding to them. Look, people are stepping away from the table on this one. They're fed up with working with the federal government, all of the rules, all the regulations, all the headaches, all the recompetes. When you get it, you're not sure you get it, and so it adds to the uncertainty. So people have started to diversify. Jim's right. Cyber is not only the next big thing, it's already here, and there's more certainty associated with that because a pretty good amount of it is already on the private sector.
Okay. All right. A question for you. You know, in 2013, you could say certain seeds were planted that might grow in 2014. What regional impacts do you think we might have, let's say from a Fairfax County standpoint? first of all? What do you think?
Well, I think if you've heard anything around the region, it's about, about entrepreneurship, starting new businesses, bringing talent to the area. The Revolution funds with Steve Case and Ted Leonis, with seed money and startup money available there. There's a lot of talent in this area, and as we've all referred to, it's going to be cautious in the government contracting sector next year, but those startups are getting ready to move forward, and when you look at that is who grows jobs, and the economy in every economy is new businesses.
Gigi, from your perspective at Montgomery County Chamber, what do you think?
Well, I think that on that subject of what seeds were sown, the government shutdown, sequestration before that, accelerated a trend we already saw. For example, we've got 2 wars winding down, so we have less activity around that, and that impacts both Maryland, Virginia, D.C. because we have so many folks in it. The other thing too, not to be discounted, is as GSA continues to shrink the footprint of not only itself but the other agencies that use GSA to determine space, has a huge impact on our commercial sector. It affects the whole region, and which it doesn't matter whether you're in Maryland, D.C. or Virginia. So I don't see that trend changing. I think that's a real concern. So that's going to have implications for the commercial market. But the upside, as Jim mentions, is the workforce. We have incredible talent here. So I don't think that changed. But I do think that they are pivoting and have been pivoting toward a global opportunity. Again, we're at an advantage here because we're also the gateway to the world.
So let me ask Jim Dinegar. I mean, the Board of Trade is a major player in this region. So what impacts are you forecasting?
Well, I think that this region is getting stronger in many different ways. It just shifts, so we can't rely on the usual sort of government trough, and that's been the knock on the region over the years. The workforce is strong. You've got Hilton here. Marriott Corporation will never really be looked at as a hospitality center. Lots of media here. You've got NPR, PBS, Discovery Communications, and so much more. We're not looked at as that kind of an area, but these places are growing. I'll quickly say that with the knowledge capital that we have here, everybody's focused on the healthcare issue, but really when you look at healthcare informatics, healthcare analytics, the data storage, the opportunities associated with cyber that are really a pressing issue for this region and for the country, we have a real solid place in that market. And the greater Washington region, the greater Baltimore region have partnered up. It's really an opportunity for Northern Virginia, the District of Columbia, and suburban Maryland.
Right, all of DMV.
I almost think that what you're saying, outside of heavy manufacturing, there is no industry that is off limits in our region here today. And you look at it, there are food companies that are growing. You look at Five Guys, they're going international. They're not serving the government. Sweet Green that Steve Case just invested in. They're in the healthcare business because they're providing healthy food. And I think there's opportunities there. And those businesses are flourishing, and those businesses are headquartered here in the region.
All right, thank you very much. Gigi,
Yes.
I'd like to ask you a little bit about corporate relocations that occurred maybe in 2013 and that you expect to occur in 2014. Do we think that the companies are going to put the brakes on relocating to this region? What's your gut feel tell you?
Well, I'm going to be contrarian on that one. I'm going to say, we need to think about who's establishing a footprint at the very least. I don't know that the issue today is going to be about wholesale relocation of corporate headquarters, which is, we'd love to see that. But I think that more importantly, what you'll see is companies will continue to come to Washington because the federal government is still the biggest purchaser on the planet Earth. But secondly, we have more and more energy being directed toward getting into global markets, and this is the gateway for overseas work. We've got all sorts of ways in, and so even a company that doesn't relocate its headquarters in the District or Maryland or Virginia will still establish a presence here because there are other ways to leverage that. And our workforce is really second to none in the nation. And we have plenty of great places in this nation to be located. But I'm going to get out there and say that I still think that establishing a presence, at the very least, in the Washington metro area will be advantageous to those companies who intend to go global.
Sounds like you're fairly bullish on it then. Actually, Jim, what's your perspective on relocations and transfers into this area and so.
Well, I think there's a recalibration on things. First, we have an absorption issue that we've got a lot more space than we've ever had in the past, whether it's in Fairfax County or in Arlington County or even in the District of Columbia. District seems to be doing pretty well as it relates to office space, rents, and the rest. But people are making better use of the office space. So they've tightened up, they've shrunk in certain respects within the office space. And it means that you're getting more people in smaller space. So that's one thing that's not a relocation, but it's more efficient use of space. The other is that we're seeing data centers pop up all over the place, and that's big business. They're still paying the real estate taxes, but they don't need the schools. They don't need the amenities. It's 4 people running a 500,000 square foot data center. And so it's a recalibration of how we've been looking at relocations in space. I'd also say that some of the back offices are moving out, back offices of universities, back offices of law firms, whether they're moving to the suburbs or to Tennessee. We're seeing some shifts there, and I think it'll make us smarter, it'll make us more efficient, but it is coming at a cost of people leaving the region.
Jim Corcoran.
I would tend to agree with Jim and Gigi on this. We are a high-tech economy here, and the government is driving that. The government is a customer. It's not actually the industry that we serve. And I think people want to be here because of talent. The second reason is talent, and the third reason is talent. We have the most educated workforce in this region from anywhere in the country and the globe. And companies will continue to come here, and whether they're growing here or relocating here, as to what Jim and Gigi said, is almost the same. So it's hard to predict that a company is going to relocate, but they will grow here.
Okay, well that's fair enough. So, I'm a Redskins fan, and Dallas Cowboys, they are the competition. Who is the competition primarily, Gigi, for relocations besides the Northern Virginia, Washington, D.C., and Maryland area?
Well, I think I'd say it depends on what that company is trying to achieve. Certainly, there are other great areas in the United States to do business. There are a lot of great things going on in the United States. I'm bullish on the whole nation, for that matter. But at the end of the day, I think our competition is ourselves, and it's the globe. And it's less about, gee whiz, lots happening in Texas. Yeah, but they have the oil industry there, and that's not who we are. And you could just go, region by region about who's doing great things. There are a lot of great things happening in the nation. I think today more than ever, we've got so many of our companies working with partners all over the country, located in all of those places, that I don't think that that's a useful way to think about it.
So in a sense, there's not really a competitor because they have different needs in those different areas. Is that
I think we need to think differently about the whole who our competitors are. I mean, we're competing against a changing economic model.
Right.
That's really the goal. And none of our companies are planning to make less.
Okay, does anybody want to add to that? Either Jim, you guys want to add to that?
Well, I think it's a global competition, and you need to stay on top of it, and being high tech is the way to be. You go back 3-4 decades, Detroit was probably the #1 economy in the United States. Look at it today. You need to continue to reinvent yourself and move forward.
I also think that we have serious competition with Austin, Texas, and they're making a real run at technology, and we need to tamp that down. There's no place like the Greater Washington region, Greater Baltimore region for cyber. We're that industry. It's all here. It needs to stay here. It will stay here. But you have to be careful that Silicon Valley nips away at that as well. And so I think we need to do a much better job of branding this region as the home to cyber.
Thank you. Jim Corcoran, this is a show looking into 2014. So my question for you is, looking in your crystal ball, what do you see are some of the emerging trends or issues that will be confronting the government contracting marketplace?
Great question, Jim. And I think more so than a trend, we're going to see a point early in the year where we are going to know what the federal government is going to do from a budget standpoint. Hopefully there's not going to be a government shutdown again early in the year, but that will define what's going to happen in 2014. But the one trend I see coming is that our talented government contracting companies providing technology are going to move more toward the private and commercial markets.
An exodus, if you will.
No, in addition to.
In addition to, okay,
Yes.
fine. Gigi, what do your tea leaves tell you?
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I would just add that there will also be more emphasis on teaming. very few companies are going to be going it alone. And so they're going to have to be more strategic about who they can work with, how they're going to build their team so that they have a competitive edge for winning contracts. And I do think that's going to be true certainly in the federal space, but I think it will influence the commercial space as well.
Okay. Jim Dinegar.
Well, I'll say that I think there are a couple of different elements. One is, don't let this whole debate about the Affordable Care sort of distract you from the fact that healthcare, health informatics, health analytics is big business and a big opportunity. 16% of the GDP in this region in terms of the focus on healthcare, and it's growing 18, 19% into the future. I'll also say that we're very concerned about the loss of federal talent. So there's going to be a difficult negotiation in the future sitting across the desk from people who may not be as familiar with FAR. They may not be as plugged in on the different procurement requirements. And so I will say that we see a diversity in the region as it relates to moving away from just the federal government, but adding on private. And then I'd also say that people in the region, perhaps in Northern Virginia, need to get more familiar with the rest of the region, because increasingly the future of Greater Washington is Maryland.
Okay. So would you say in the final analysis that you're optimistic about the next coming year, or somewhat pessimistic,
Jim,
or neutral?
I'm always optimistic. I think that people need to learn the lessons from the shutdown and from sequestration and begin to apply those so that they're prepared if those things happen again, because wishing isn't a strategy. It really needs to be something that people are prepared on. But the good, the strong, the smart will do quite well in this marketplace. The sharpening of the elbows, pushing out others and keeping their space, this is really where the strong really will survive and do well, but it marginalizes a few others, and maybe we're doing a bit of weeding out. There's some health associated with that.
I see. Gigi, your thoughts?
Optimistic. I think our region is strong. We've got what's next right here. We've got health, IT, and cyber. We've talked about that. We're the gateway to the rest of the world, and we still have the best relationships with the biggest buyer in the world, which is the federal government. I'm optimistic. I'm very optimistic. We have a lot of great opportunity here. We also have the best coaches for succeeding in that space in the world are located in the Washington area.
Well, your two colleagues today take a very optimistic view of 2014 in that regard. How about you, Jim?
Jim, we are with Chambers of Commerce. We don't know how to be pessimistic. But having said that, I think this area is poised for growth more than any other area in the country outside of those those areas that are doing well in the energy sector, and it's because of the talent base we have. But Jim made a great point. A wave of retirements and people leaving the federal government could be a brain drain on this area, even if they are just retiring, and we need to make sure that pipeline is ready to continue to grow.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Jim Dinegar, 2014, will it be a good time or a bad time for new players to enter the government contracts market?
Well, I think if you're a good player, it's a great time to enter it. If you're a bad player, it's not a good time. And I have to say that the strong will survive, but if you're just sort of mailing it in, phoning it in, this isn't the market for you. We're type A personalities. It's go, go, go all the time. So either step aside and let some ones that have good ideas, good solutions, real work to get done, get that work done. But if you're one of those, the hungry, you'll do just fine in this market. This is a robust time.
You have some thoughts, Jeannie?
I would say yes, it is a good time.
Okay.
A little disruption in the marketplace is always an advantage for the new entrants. So yeah, we have disruption in the marketplace. It's perfect.
Therefore,
it's a good time.
Good time.
Jim Corcoran. And to what Jim and Gigi were saying, lead or get out of the way.
Yeah.
If you have a good idea, whether it was after the .com crash or in the downturn in the federal government, if you have a distinct product to offer that is going to improve performance for your clients, you will win.
Bring it on. This is the place for it.
This is it here.
And I think that's no matter what time of year or downturn or upturn it is.
That's why the Chambers of Commerce and Boards of Trades are in existence. Bring those companies in, get them introduced to the marketplace. It's all about relationships, and among the three of our organizations, those relationships are easy to make.
Yep. I think we have 3 ambassadors here for our region, so congratulations on that. This show is called Government Contracting Weekly. We're the only show of its kind that focuses on winning government contracts. So now I'm going to ask you a question for 2014, which is, what do you think the key is, or keys, 1 or 2, keys to winning work in this market in 2014? Jim Corcoran.
Well, unfortunately, it's come down to price right now. It's the lowest price for the services being provided. So you better sharpen your offerings. And I'll let the others go.
I'd say it's best coaches, just like in the Olympics. You need the best coaches to help you win and then to survive that winning and to really thrive. Unlike the Olympics, there's no second place.
No second
so
place.
You got to win it. You need the best coaches. You got to shave off those seconds just like you would if you were an Olympic athlete. So, and we'll be able to watch that very soon. Exactly that.
I like sports analogies, by the way. Jim.
I also think the other element is that there are a lot of new players in the federal agencies. There's been some downsizing, some right-sizing, some adjustments, some sorry, you're not authorized to approve that, so it goes up. So it really is more about different relationships that need to be fostered, a whole lot of reintroductions. You need to be known in this marketplace and reintroduce yourself and get those relationships going.
And it's not just direct relationships with the agencies. It needs to be with partnering. Do you want to sub or do you want to prime on this particular contract?
Well, I think at the end of the day, it's a very human environment. It always has been. So you better make a friend before you need that friend. You've got to get to know the folks that you're working with. And that goes, frankly, for both ends. That goes for our acquisition folks in government. We want them to be successful. And it goes for our folks that we're coaching.
So that raises the question. Let's say one of your acquisition friends, the government acquisition executive, and you had a chance to sit down with him or her and give him one piece of advice, one thought. What would it be?
Work with us. Here we are. We're here to help and be part of the solution. We want our federal government to be successful. They're delivering solutions that we've told them to deliver. And our companies help get them there. And they're helping them in cyber, health IT, and all of the very many other things that our government contracting companies do. We're part of the solution, and we've got those relationships, and we're happy to connect them. That's what we do.
I'd also say don't get yourself down. If you're working in the federal government, it's been a difficult time with the sequestration, the shutdown, certainly the lack of raises and more. But don't let what other people may be saying about working in the federal government infringe upon what the good and important work you do. And so be proud of the role. We're very proud of you, and we'd like to continue that partnership.
Very good. All right. Final question here would be more or less your prediction for 2014. So I'd like you to kind of briefly talk about what you think is a prediction and maybe why. We'll start with you, Jim.
The FBI will move its headquarters to Springfield, Virginia, and businesses will cluster around it.
Okay. Very good. Gigi.
I believe the Washington region will thrive. I think Maryland is well positioned to benefit from the increased activity around all of our civil agencies. I mean, we're very heavily in the health space. So I think Maryland's in a very good position for all of the what's next, cyber, health, IT, as, of course, are Northern Virginia and D.C. But I think we're going to see an uptick in good economic growth in the Washington region because this is where the action is, and this is where the solutions are being provided. This is where the talent is. So I think we're going to see good things.
30 seconds or less, Jim. What's your prediction?
Well, I think that people need to understand that there are a lot of different trends going on, and they're not flashes in the pan. The downsizing of office space, the opportunities to work smarter, certainly the growth of cyber and health informatics. And so as we look at that as the growth area, people need to understand it's not a flash in the pan. Get on board.
Thank you. Okay, well, that brings us to the end of our Government Contracting Weekly 2014 Look Ahead. I hope you agree that our panelists presented a lot of important information. And if you'd like to see it again or share it with your colleagues, it will be available on governmentcontractingweekly.com. I'd like to take a moment to thank our distinguished panel. First of all, Jim Corcoran from Fairfax County. Thank you very much, Jim. Thank you very much. And then I'd also like to thank you, Gigi, from the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much for being here. And last but not least, Jim Dinegar from the Greater Washington Board of Trade. Thanks for being here today.
Happy New Year, Jim.
Good morning. My name is Alan Horlick, and I'm the executive producer of Government Contracting Weekly, which is currently in its second year on television. Now, as we move into a new year, I want to share with you some exciting news, and that is our decision to begin producing and airing commercial messages. This unique program attracts a pure concentration of both industry and government decision makers. As an advertiser, you can't afford to waste your money. So whether you are a contractor or a service provider, Government Contracting Weekly offers you the perfect environment and the perfect audience so you can make your own best pitch on why you should be hired. If you'd like to learn more about advertising in Government Contracting Weekly, you can contact us at governmentcontractingweekly.com and click on Advertise.
At Key Solutions, we have been working for more than 30 years to help government contractors win and retain government contracts in excess of $125 billion. We understand that coming in second place, it's not an option, and that principle-centered winning is the only way forward. That's how we have worked with 9 out of the top 10 and 87 out of the top 100 government contractors. I'm Jim McCarthy, owner of Key Solutions, and we want to help you win or retain your next contract. Contact us at aockeysolutions.com.
In this case, the government is less interested in the content than they are in the presenters, who are usually the key personnel. The government wants to evaluate 3 things. First, are the key personnel really expert in their areas, or did the A team write the proposal and the B team is being proposed? Second, how well does the team work together? Do they seem to know each other, respect each other, and does the proposed project manager seem to have control over his team? And finally, are these people that the government evaluators are prepared to work with? In other words, are they likable? Yes, the norm is that most red teams in our business are dysfunctional. The root causes are varied: lack of customer knowledge by reviewers, inadequate review time, lack of process discipline and ineffective rules of engagement, conducted too late in the proposal process, propensity of reviewers to pontificate rather than read and score, vague, conflicting, unprofessional, non-actionable comments, and lack of rigor in disposition and implementation of what few constructive comments are received. What should be done? Throw it out and start again. There's another red team paradigm available in the market. We call it Win Team, one that is constructive, not destructive, one where reviewers and writers collaborate for the best results, one that generates actionable advice, one that reinforces a sense of team, not destroys morale, one that creates heroes, not scapegoats, one that concentrates on winning, not fault-finding and nitpicking. Until the process is fixed, we wonder whether no red team is better than a bad one. You decide. For more information about this and other keys to winning, go to governmentcontractingweekly.com and click on Weekly Buzz.
Whatever 2014 has in store for us, we hope it includes making Government Contracting Weekly a regular part of your learning regimen. So on behalf of all my colleagues at Key Solutions, I'm Jim McCarthy. Happy New Year, everybody.
You've been watching Government Contracting Weekly, sponsored each week by AOC Key Solutions Incorporated. Government Contracting Weekly is the only television program devoted exclusively to the competitive and dynamic world of government contracting. For additional information, comments, questions, or suggestions, please write us at governmentcontractingweekly.com.